Hello, my name is Cheyanne Nichter. I am a student at Bunker Hill Community College, transitioning this year to Lesley University. Over the semester, I have had the fantastic opportunity to work as an intern with Strategies for Children, which has allowed me to explore the scope of complexities and issues and opportunities within our field. Today, I would like to share some strategies for making outreach and engagement more accessible in our current climates and contexts. When considering outreach as an individual or as a part of an organization, the context of the community's needs must be considered. Vulnerable communities often face barriers that prevent them from accessing resources, services, and information in conventional ways. It's necessary to be willing and able to meet the people where they are. So, where are they? To begin, let's consider the brain and how stress causes a person to zone in on their immediate environment and concerns, which often makes it a challenge to focus on the process of searching for, sifting through, and applying for resources and support to programs and communities they may have never even heard of. Many people may not own computers or know how to use one or have the time to learn, let alone go looking for advocates and organizations to connect to. In today's context, many have been confined to their homes. So how do we meet them where they are, especially when meeting anyone in general is more challenging than ever? As we've experienced, connection and communication, especially during the pandemic, is primarily digital. So resource and information content is going to be found on a basic web page. Professional and academic sectors have turned to Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, and other video meeting platforms. Social and cultural sectors have turned to interactive social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Primary and secondary groups, which is going to be family, friends, cohorts, colleagues, have turned to text messages and phone calls, which is every group is going to use those in addition to emails, which are also an indispensable tool used by each group. I believe that the future for effective advocacy will exist in a multi-tiered approach, which encompasses each mode of communication and employs trending strategies in order to engage sectors of society so that simultaneously and thus exerting social influence for social change. I'd love to pause here and provide a small but notable example within the parenting sector. Parenting can be very lonely, particularly in the US. So as the pandemic took over, we were confined to our households, and some with children, and communities turned to digital modes of communication, particularly social media. The parenting community uses the space to share ideas, experiences, resources, connect over the unique struggles of parenthood, and of course, wherever there is a social group, set trends and influence cultures and form subcultures. Now this can and has gone in different directions. A great example that is relevant but not too controversial is the concept of baby-led weaning. Traditionally, doctors advise waiting for 6 months of age to begin offering purees to infants and to breastfeed for up to a year. Current self-proclaimed experts, professionals within the field, and parent influencers now advise following cues from infants that signal food readiness and gradual baby-led weaning from the breast. As a result, infants are being fed foods earlier and breastfeeding longer. Now this may seem minor, but it's pretty huge. And this is because it's a great example of how social media can be used to influence large masses of people. Now imagine if advocates participated in this dialogue. So what would that look like? The goal is to participate and influence the public dialogue, which if done successfully, leads to social and cultural trends and ideally sustained change through action. In order for that to happen, key players would have to do their business, participate in the dialogue, interact with networks, and direct their messages to and within the visibility of directly to the public. There's been a steady migration within our society into the usage of technology for communication. This digital age has been ushered forward with a new urgency given our current context. In between 2019 and 2021, the number of social media users jumped from 3.5 to 4.5 billion, 10 million in just 2020 to 2021. 99% of people in the world access their networks exclusively on mobile devices, and 72.3% of Americans are on social media. So let's take a look at a sample of some successful strategies. We're going to look at Renee Brown, who is a pretty popular social scientist, author, public speaker, podcast host, and is even on Netflix now. We'll notice she has a clear photo with the ring around it. This ring tells us she has posted a daily story, which will be available to see for 24 hours. Her bio has some identifiers as well as a link to her website. And let's take a moment to notice the amount of followers, which is pretty impressive. We will also see a list of mutual followers, which is going to list people that I follow that also follow her, which makes the network of association very visible. Below this, we see a line of highlights, which are collections of daily stories, which have been saved to access. This will generally include an introduction, resources, memories, FAQs. So here's an example of an effective use of stories. We can see that she is advertising events, networking a peers event, sharing information. There are ways to encourage participation through allowing followers to type responses into the box and then sharing the replies anonymously. There are the ability to do polls, respond to stories, like them. So here are some examples of effective posts. Sharing resources and commentary, posting the work of others, starting a public dialogue. We can see that this post is liked by over 18,000 followers and is promoting a book. The author is tagged and Renee is posing questions for discussion. Let's also note that the topic of this is social change, which is right on the nose. The next post is in support of paid family leave and medical leave. A notable quote, and again, people are tagged, the discussion is started, and in this case, over 30,000 followers are weighing in. So her website is easy to navigate. It's aesthetically pleasing. Everything is broken into categories and subcategories. One notable feature is the hubs, which are pages within her website dedicated to navigating the human experience and emotional literacy, and another dedicated to those who are in a place in their journey where they're ready to step up into leadership. Each of these pages has their own resources, podcasts, articles, etc. And another notable feature is the Explore page, which has resources and writings organized into themes for browsing. So one of the draws of social media is that everything is pretty automatic at this point. Information is available at fingertips. Our algorithms will pick up on your following habits and make suggestions as to profiles for you to follow if you're interested. So here we see the Boardroom Project, an advocacy organization focused on addressing global poverty through U.S. foreign policies, which has a very effective action center. This includes an article that outlines 30 ways to participate in advocacy, pages dedicated to little crash courses on the big issues they're concerned with, such as Politics 101 and Global Poverty 101. My favorite part is their email setup. This includes pre-written emails to representatives about legislative issues. This example is about COVID-19 vaccine funding. All one needs to do is to participate is to fill out their personal information and hit send. I've tested it. The email does send to the corresponding office and the office does send a response. This is a simple, easy, fast way for people to participate in advocacy. Now imagine if influencers shared these resources. So podcasts are another way to facilitate dialogue. What's particularly great about them is they are available at any time after live streaming. So those who have children, are working, or are otherwise engaged can access this at their own convenience and listen to it while otherwise occupied. Renee Brown is particularly effective because her podcast is set up as a series of interviews with notable public figures, artists, authors, and during these discussions, they tackle some pretty big topics. The lack of participation is a draw here because people may listen within their various contexts and broach the subjects within their families and communities, and may also be inclined to read the book or try out the strategy or look up a resource or even use some of the insights that are shared here within the last podcast. Live streaming, the video dialogue, is another great strategy. This allows the speaker to be visible, allows for a little bit more participation in the form of comments, little cartoon reactions, likes, but is still less intimidating than a Zoom call. where the social expectation is to participate fully, which may not be an accessible option for some. So some examples of activists, we see Ibram X. Kendi, Alok, Glennon Doyle, each within their sections of social cultural movement. We'll look and see that they're employing the same strategies. They've got impressive numbers of followers, and they are currently leading societal movement to change. So let's imagine what would happen if advocacy sectors followed suit. What if organizations and resources and communities were made more accessible and visible? What sort of social impact would we see if advocacy cohorts were just as active with their online presence as influencers? What if the advocacy cohorts included influencers and public social cultural figures in the dialogue of public interest? What are some concrete attainable goals an organization might set to move into this area? What are some ways that organizations can make small steps towards these goals now? Those are some topics that we should think about. Thank you.